Do you want to make this year better than last? Then let me introduce you to mental health advocate Megan Gallagher. Megan has struggled with anxiety since middle school and uses her own journey with mental health to advocate for others as a TED Talk speaker, author, and host. Megan joined 10-Minute Talks to share her toolkit for overcoming anxiety and advice for thriving in 2021. This is our conversation.
Something that's come to the forefront this year is there's been a lot of discussions about this idea of balancing staying optimistic with everything going on, but also avoiding toxic positivity, kind of this idea that regardless of what's going on in your life, you should always be in a positive mindset. That's like that can be a difficult thing to balance. But how have you kind of found that balance in the past year?
That's a great question. I would say I have found the balance through, just allowing myself to feel what I'm feeling and to not judge myself when it comes up. And I also think that really getting into the mindset, and through meditation, I've really become really good at this, but something that helps me is observing my thoughts instead of engaging or reacting. My therapist gave me this great metaphor where you imagine that your mind is like a river. And if you were sitting by a river, typically you'd probably sit and just watch it go by. Or, imagining each thought is like a rock in the river. And it's, if you go in and pick it up and you're like, oh gosh, how long would that take to overanalyze and turn over every rock and be like, oh, this one is this color and this shape and it has holes in it. Or you can just sit back and allow the river, things will pass, and just to go through. And it's just really powerful to remind yourself that these are just thoughts and I am creating them, but I also have the ability just to watch them pass. I don't have to get in an argument with myself. I don't have to, get frustrated or, oh gosh, why did I think about that? That's weird. Or that was 5 years ago. Because it's like you want to stay in the present moment as best as you can. So just really visualizing your mind as something that's just fluid. And every single day we can have up to 500,000 thoughts, a day, or even in an hour, depending on who you are and your lifestyle and where you live. But, just really taking a moment and thinking, do my thoughts match the present moment? Or is my mind in the past, anticipating the future? Is it worrying? Is it negative? Just really getting clear. And then that is something that I feel can really, help people just with, navigating this next year, even though I am like forever an optimist. But I think, I feel just allowing myself to feel how I'm feeling and to know that however I am feeling in this moment is perfectly okay. And I think not to be hard on myself. Because one thing I have learned through therapy is that I tend to, and I don't know the right scientific term for this, but I tend to I process things, and then it takes me kind of a while to really feel the emotion of, oh, that person cut me off in traffic, or that person did that, or, oh, how am I feeling? Am I feeling pissed off or angry or sad or mad or hopeless or joyful? So I've really learned that everyone processes information in their own way, but I think for me, I tend to process things and then think about it for a really long time and then decide, okay, so this is how I'm feeling about it.
I like that. Another one of the things too that I've heard you talk about that I really like is this idea of turning the what ifs that anxiety brings on into positive what ifs. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So the what if train. So for a lot of people, anxiety, you can tell when you're having anxiety when all of your thoughts start with what if. So if you wake up in the morning and you're starting your day, and you're feeling good, and then maybe someone texts you that you're mad at, or something happens that you feel is kind of ruining, this good start to your day, it's important to notice after whatever action happens, where does your mind go? So for a lot of people, their mind is going to start going down the oh, what if I get sick? What if this person hates me? What if I don't win? What if I? So there is a negative what if, column, but there also, you can flip it around and make it positive. And that is called positive replacement. And basically, it means anytime that you have a negative thought, you're replacing it with a positive one. So sometimes it can feel as if you're being your own therapist and that you're challenging your mind. But basically, all of the negative thoughts, you can come up with a positive replacement, a positive holder thought. So basically, let's say I think, what if this COVID never ends? So instead of thinking, what if this COVID never ends, I could flip it around and say, what if, and depending on the situation, I could flip it and say, what if this year is a lot better than last year? And I can just, flip it around into little helpful things that can actually make my body physically feel better. But I think it's just really important, though, to remember that any thought that starts with what if typically is anxiety, and it's typically going to be a negative, worst case scenario thought.
There are all these things that you can do to kind of ward off anxiety and keep yourself in a good mental space, but it still can come up from time to time. What are some of the things you do when you do feel anxiety creeping up?
When I feel anxiety creeping up, I love to do either breath work, and that can be done in a various of ways, but I love to just put down the phone or whatever I'm doing right now, and knowing that I can get back to it. And for me, just knowing that, okay, if I'm feeling anxious or out of my body or just really in a funk, I'm going to put away the stuff, knowing my mental health and well-being is more important. And then for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I love just to do breath work, whether I'm lying on the ground or if I'm just sitting upright. I think anxiety can come from, a lack of oxygen to the brain. And it may sound crazy, but it really does make a difference. And for me, at least, a really big telltale sign if I'm having anxiety is when I feel like I'm breathing from my chest, like shallow breathing rather than, pushing out my stomach and using my diaphragm. And then I also personally love just doing a quick meditation. I think it's really powerful, even if you have 5 minutes, just to close your eyes, find something on YouTube. It can be really simple. But yeah, I love everything to me. I love anything wellness and feeling better. But I would say my go-to 3 tips for if you're having anxiety: one, it would be going into nature. And whether you're hiking or walking, I think being in nature, you just feel like cleansed. I don't know why, you just feel so good after. 2, definitely meditation. And 3, doing some form of breath work is really powerful. And it really calms down your nervous system, and it helps kind of focus more on the present moment. Because I think it's really powerful if you really think about it, when we are fully in the present moment, there technically isn't anything going wrong. I think it's just when our mind wanders to what that person said an hour ago, or what was on the news, or what our friend, it's like when you're in the full present moment, there's no danger, there's no fear. So you have to remember that anxiety, depression, all of these things, racing thoughts, not feeling good, you have to really think, well, what are my thoughts? Because thoughts create feelings. So if I'm not feeling good, then it's something with my thoughts, or, whatever it may be. But I think something that is so important is just to remember that our well-being really comes from what we're telling ourselves on the inside. And also, how we're just going about our life, I think, is important.
Yeah. For someone who hasn't done breathwork before, or hasn't meditated, are there any resources you recommend for that, whether it's like a YouTube video or an app?
Yes. So I love, for breath work, I love going on YouTube and just Googling simple 10-minute breath work meditations. and typically breath work for anyone listening. So truly, one of my favorite breathwork techniques is alternate nostril breathing. And it's really easy. You just put one finger, it looks weird, but you put one finger on one nostril and you breathe out, and then you hold your breath, and then other side, and you just go back and forth. And basically, what that does is it balances both the left and right side of your brain, which is, one side is the creative, one side is the more analytical. So it really does a good job. And then I would say also another really great breathing technique is putting both of your hands on your diaphragm and actively, even though it feels really weird and you don't have to do it, in public, but actively pushing out your stomach. Like, it feels odd, but making sure that you're actually using your diaphragm, because that's where all of your power comes from, and your true breath, instead of up here when it's shallow and you feel like, oh my gosh, so frantic, like you have 4,000 things to do. Breathing from down here is really powerful. And then I also love Tony Robbins, the rapid breath of fire, where you just go up and down and you go in and out of your nose super, super quick. That's a great one. But yes, I think breath work is something you can do on your own and start your own practice. And it can be simple, and it doesn't have to be challenging or, too complex. But I honestly love going on YouTube, and there's so many apps too, like Headspace, Talkspace, a lot of really, really great mental health things, Unplug, where they have free guided meditations and breath work classes and really awesome things that, you can just do from your iPhone.
Yeah, that's great. What would be your biggest piece of encouragement for someone looking for hope heading into the new year?
My biggest piece of advice for going into 2021 would be to continuously just move forward. And I think for a lot of people, like I mentioned earlier, our minds can, try to trick us and think, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get out of this, or it's never going to get better, or I'm always going to be the girl who does blank, or whatever, story we have about ourselves. But it's really important to remember that we are moving forward. That's a fact. We are moving forward. It's January 6th. Tomorrow's going to be January 7th. And even if you are taking baby steps, or if you have your whole entire year planned out, just know that, you shouldn't compare yourself, and don't compare your 2021 to someone else's. And to also remember that you are moving forward, regardless of what your mom tells you, you are moving forward. And every time you wake up early, go to bed early, get a good night's sleep, and you make positive choices, that's a step forward. And so congratulating yourself and just continuously moving in that direction is really powerful, because I think a lot of people throughout COVID have become really, fear-based. And I think that is such a harsh path to go down when you feel like you're just stuck, like you're stuck in mud and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't even breathe. This is never going to get, you just have to remember, you can take it one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time. And just remembering that, life is precious, and it's important to, make time to talk with people that you love and that make you feel really good about yourself. And it's important to limit, your time watching the news, and just all of these things that really play into our mental well-being is really important. But I would say for sure, heading into 2021, everyone, make sure that you are just continuously moving forward with your life, and making sure that, at the end of 2021, you want to look back and say, wow, I did it for myself, and I really did a really great job. And whatever your goals are or resolutions, if it's, turning off electronics before you go to bed, if it is drinking more water, or cutting out alcohol, or hanging out with a new group of people, whatever it may be, just really making sure that you can do it, and holding yourself accountable. And whatever your mind tries to tell you, or just know that that's not real. And it's, life is just a one-way, thing. And I think just remembering, what am I telling myself every day? And I should, be kind. be kind to ourselves. Honestly, like this past year, I mean, I'm naturally a positive person, but man, this past year, it was challenging. And there were so many things that were so just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can handle this, but telling yourself the inner dialogue of, yes, I can. Today is going to be amazing. I'm going to do things that make me feel like my best self. And every single day, I'm going to have a full day. And honestly, even if it's as simple as going to a new coffee shop, if they are open, or joining a virtual book club, or things that just can get you excited about life, are amazing. And just continuously, no matter, when COVID, obviously it will end at some point, but no matter, what age you are in life or anything else, continuously just pushing yourself to try new things. We're going to go to a new smoothie shop, or we're going to, call up this person that I've been wanting to hang out with and they're really awesome, or we're going to cook this healthy meal. We're going to save more money, like whatever it is. It's just making those smart choices that do pay off in the long run. And they really do help you become your best self. But yeah, I also, it's just be kind to yourself too, because it's so easy to compare ourselves to other people and to think, oh, this famous person or this person with all this money or whatever it may be. But it's important to remember that everyone is still a human being at the end of the day, and we all have had to adjust our lives. No one is immune to what COVID and all the side effects have created. So just remembering that you're not alone with how you're feeling. Someone has felt this way before. Someone has overcome it before, and you will too. And just to know that our mind is a really powerful thing. So it's important to fuel ourselves with like good stuff and just positivity.
That was my conversation with Megan. For more of her inspiring and uplifting advice, make sure to give her a follow on all social media platforms at Megan W. Gallagher. And if you or a loved one needs immediate mental health help, you can text HOME to crisis text line at 741-741, or call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. I've linked to more resources in the show description as well. Until next time, remember you're loved, you matter, and you've got this.